This is the South Coast News and I'm Paul Murphy. A well-known and highly respected local man has been arrested for repeated acts of desmophilia. Police had been looking for the man for 3 weeks after it became known that members of the public had been accosted while walking through Les Favell Memorial Park. It's now apparent that the reason for the aborted undercover mission by Constable Keggs Keegan a month ago was an attempt to lure the desmophile out into the open. Said Famishon University's acting head of the School of Psychology, Asif Iqbal, yesterday, quote, "Well, yes, the desmophile is a bit of an odd customer. He's almost exclusively male and seeks sexual gratification through watching a victim, again usually male but sometimes female, tied up. He's a funny one, all right, and for all intents and purposes can go through life almost undetected. He will almost always have a length of rope under the front seat of his car or near at hand if walking. He'll most often lure someone to a private spot, tie them up, and then administer sexual gratification to himself quite vigorously while they struggle to get free. He quite literally lusts after power and is a very, very dirty little bugger indeed, but quite harmless otherwise," unquote. Acting Superintendent Inosi Toga said that while the arrested person had been reported for attempting the act, police were keen to actually catch him during performance. The arrest was made at 11 a.m. yesterday behind the outdoor changing facilities of the Les Boyd Oval by Constable Keegan. After psychological assessment, Mr Gordon Boyd of Jurt Estate will be formally charged and brought before Magistrate Rick McCosker. Still on police news, Dr George Paponis at the Les Favell Memorial Hospital allowed Constable Keggs Keegan to interview one of the perpetrators of the disastrous practical joke which saw the destruction of Bluebird Cafe proprietor Mario Milano's new Ford Fairlane outside the Railway Hotel 3 weeks ago. According to Keegan, Gagan Brothers head panel beater Darryl Braithwaite had telephoned CMF organiser and part-time Barry Beath High School teacher Mark Edmondson and asked if he had anything that looked like gelignite. Edmondson allegedly replied that he had something that was, quote, a dead ringer, unquote, and provided Braithwaite with the 20 sticks, a length of fuse wire and the detonating plunger, all from Army Reserve stores. Keegan added that it was reasonable to assume that given the outcome of the practical joke, the materials furnished by Edmondson were the real articles rather than the fakes requested by Braithwaite. Edmondson is to be called in for questioning next Monday. Local thespian Leonard Teal is pleased with the response to auditions for the Christmas pageant and has announced that Ron Clark will play Joseph of Arimathea, Marcia Hines will be Mary, and the Stuck Five, the Three Wise Men. Other minor roles are still to be cast. 1988, 1989 and 1990 Citizen of the Year, Ian Redpath, has been inundated with congratulatory telegrams and phone calls in response to his moving introduction to the publication This is the South Coast News and I'm Paul Murphy, Volume 2, released this week. Said the courteous tailor yesterday, quote, "Well, I was knocked for six with the reaction to the first volume, but this time it's just been fantastic. The people at ABC Marketing gave me a call a few months ago and put the proposition to me of doing another little piece by way of introduction. I said yes and just opened up my heart and put it on the page. I wrote a composition called My Town. It made my best friend, John Alexander, cry. The book looks good too. The illustrator, Bill Leake, has done a fantastic job, although some of the drawings are a little bit racy for my taste. I think people in the town are a little jealous they weren't asked to contribute, but that's their problem," unquote. The publication is available at the Richie Robinson Bookshop on Queen Street and in all ABC shops throughout Australia. Aviator Graham Langlands has admitted to unprofessional behaviour in executing his duty in providing a safe commuter service from Donnelly Airport to Kingsford Smith Airport in Sydney. On the Tuesday of last week, Langlands and his Piper Cherokee aircraft were hired to fly Tracy Wickham, Lisa Forrest, Colleen Hewitt and Lisa Martin to Sydney for a government-sponsored assessment of affirmative action in regional areas. Said Wickham, quote, "Changa's just a cowboy. He started off all right, I suppose, apart from turning around and winking and poking his tongue in and out, sort of Ludi style, as we were taking off. But then, when we'd reached cruising altitude, he turned the plane upside down and we flew in this manner for about 10 minutes. We were screaming with rage and he just laughed. Then he put the plane on autopilot and walked away from the controls and said, 'There are 2 joysticks on board, girls. Take your pick.' He was ignored and got a bit embarrassed, I think. Well, eventually we arrived but got the train back. We've put in an official complaint to the relevant authorities. I mean, Changa, the man's a goose," unquote. The normally taciturn and somewhat enigmatic local issued an apology yesterday, saying that he'd been excited and was just showing off. Aviation authorities have indicated that an inquiry will be held into the behaviour of Langlands, with an automatic suspension the most likely outcome. In sport, the newly formed Ulladulla Naturals Cricket Club has lost its first game. Visitors Warilla North declared at close of play last Saturday at no wicket for 237, which is a record first wicket stand in the history of the district competition. In reply, the Naturals were dismissed after only 23 overs for 36 runs. Top scorer for the Naturals was opener D. Braithwaite with 8. Said captain and founder of the team, L. Teal, quote, "Well, a loss to begin with is expected, and to be realistic, I think I'll be advising the team to wear something on their feet next week. I mean, it's all well and good to be a nudist and believe in its ideals, but the fact is that our feet were cut to pieces with the concrete pitch and the bindies in the oval grass. Still, we learnt something," unquote. The team travels to Austinmere next week, where some resistance to a nude team has been apparent, with local cricket organisers advising the Naturals not to appear unless wearing regulation dress. And Ashley says warm, sunny days with no chance of rainfall, but unseasonably cold winds during the night hours caused by a slow-moving low-pressure cell facilitating the movement of air from the Antarctic. Ashley would like to inform the district that the annual Weather Bureau Christmas party will be open to the public again this year, with the theme being Country and Western. The venue is the Ulladulla Scout Hall, and the ticket price $13.50, with all proceeds going towards a new metric barometer and blinds for Ashley's office. The party is to be held next Friday night, beginning at 7:30 p.m. sharp.